Colt Mercer had chased sunsets across 3 states and 2 broken cameras before he found the one that made him stop breathing. It was the kind of horizon that didn't just glow, it burned. Gold spilled over the hills like melted coin, setting the dry grass aflame with light. The sky shifted from amber to rose, to a bruised violet so deep it felt like a secret, and it all belonged to Alina Cruz. Colt adjusted the tripod on the ridge, boots pressing into soil that wasn't his. He'd followed a rumor the highest western pasture, outside Red Mesa, had the clearest line of sight in the territory. No telegraph poles, no barns, no fences. Just sky meeting earth in a clean, uninterrupted sweep. Perfect. He lifted the camera, breath slowing. He lived for this moment, that fragile stretch of time, when the world softened and surrendered its sharp edges. When day forgave itself and became something beautiful. The shutter clicked once, then again, then a third time. Drop it. The voice was steady, female, close. Colt didn't turn at first. Most people, when they found him working, softened when they saw the camera. Sunsets made people sentimental. The shotgun cocking behind him was not sentimental. He slowly lowered the camera and raised both hands. "Evening," he said calmly. "You're about 30 seconds away from missing the best part." "I don't care about the best part." Now he turned. She stood about 10 paces away. Boots planted wide in the grass, dark braid hanging over one shoulder. Dust lined the hem of her skirt, and her jaw was set like granite. The shotgun didn't shake. Alina Cruz didn't look like someone who had ever missed anything in her life. "You're trespassing," she said. Colt glanced around at the rolling pasture, at the cattle grazing in the distance, at the worn fence line half a mile down the slope. Hard to tell where the sky starts charging rent. Her eyes narrowed. "This land feeds my family. That makes it mine." He studied her, not the shotgun, but her face. There was sun in her skin, wind in her posture. She belonged here in a way he never belonged anywhere. "I just need 10 minutes, he said. "Then I'll be gone." "You already took something." He frowned slightly. "What?" She stepped forward, lowering the barrel just an inch. "That horizon, you took it. You'll sell it, print it, hang it in some gallery with a price tag. And folks who've never worked this soil will call it beautiful." "It is beautiful. That's not the point." Colt let out a quiet breath. He'd heard this before. People suspicious of outsiders, suspicious of lenses. But there was something different in her tone. Not anger, protection. He glanced back at the sky. The sun had dipped lower, deepening into copper. He could feel it slipping away. "I don't steal land," he said softly. "I capture light." "Same thing," she replied. "You don't know what it costs to keep this view untouched." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of sage and cattle. Somewhere below, a gate creaked. Colt hesitated. He could pack up, find another ridge, another horizon, but this one felt like destiny, and she stood between him and it. "I'll make you a deal," he said. Her expression didn't change. "You're not in a position to bargain. Let me come back tomorrow, with permission. I'll show you the photographs before they leave this ranch. If you don't like what you see, I delete them. You expect me to trust you?" "No," he said honestly. "But you can supervise." A flicker crossed her eyes, surprise, maybe, or reluctant curiosity. The sun kissed the edge of the earth. She lowered the shotgun. "One day," she said, "you step foot here without asking again. I won't warn you twice." Colt nodded once. Fair. As she turned to leave, the last light spilled across her shoulders, igniting the dark braid with fire. And for the first time in years, Colt forgot to press the shutter. Colt woke before sunrise the next morning, the memory of Elena's warning lingering like smoke in his mind. He brewed a strong coffee over the campfire, the chill of the early morning creeping through his worn jacket. The sky had begun its slow change from black to deep indigo, then a muted lavender. He couldn't resist. He raised the camera, framing the faint promise of light, but paused. He had a plan today. Not to trespass, not to steal, but to bridge the gap between the lens and the landowner, who clearly saw him as a thief of more than just photographs. By mid-morning, Colt found himself at the edge of the cruise ranch, a stack of freshly printed photographs in his pack. He'd taken shots from public land the day before, images that captured the curves of the hills and the fire of the sunset. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. He saw her before she saw him. Alina was repairing a fence, sleeves rolled up, dirt smudged across her forearms. She didn't look up when he approached, but she stiffened slightly. "I brought something," he said, keeping his tone light, careful. He placed the stack of photographs on the fence post. Alina glanced at them, but didn't move closer. She crossed her arms. "This isn't what I meant yesterday." "I know," Colt admitted, "but I wanted you to see. I respect your land. I'm not here to take it. Just to show you what I'm seeing." She picked up a photo and tilted it toward the sunlight. The hills glowed orange, the sky a wash of pink and gold. "Not bad," she said finally, voice neutral but her lips twitching in a way that almost looked like a smile. "Not perfect, but close," he said. "If you'll let me, I want to do this the right way. Permission first, shots later." Alina studied him, eyes sharp and calculating. "Most photographers don't ask. They just assume the world owes them a view." "Then, I'm not most photographers," Colt said, and he meant it. There was a pause, the kind that held weight. The fence post creaked under her fingers as she finally put the photo down. "I don't usually negotiate with strangers," she admitted, "and think of me as a temporary exception." He offered a small, crooked smile. "I'm not asking to make your life difficult. I'm asking to capture beauty without stealing it." Her gaze softened slightly, scanning his face for a trace of deceit. She found none. Slowly, she nodded. "All right. You can come back tomorrow. Sunrise, but I'll be there." Colt's chest lifted with relief, though he didn't let it show too much. "Deal." As he packed his things to leave, Alina added, "And if I catch you sneaking in anywhere else, you'll remind me who owns the horizon," he finished for her. The sun broke over the ridge, just as he stepped off the property, spilling light across the dirt road and leaving a promise of warmth for the coming day. He didn't need the camera to see the beauty. He felt it in the quiet tension between them, in the way the landowner's eyes softened just enough to suggest trust might be possible. Driving away, Colt realized something else. The chase for the perfect sunset wasn't just about capturing a moment. It was about understanding what made that moment worth protecting. And for the first time, he understood that some horizons weren't meant to be taken. They were meant to be shared. He smiled faintly, eyes on the horizon, stretching ahead of him. Tomorrow, he thought, would be different. Tomorrow, he wouldn't just take a photograph. He'd start learning how to earn it. The next morning, Colt arrived at the cruise ranch before the sun had fully risen. The air smelled of damp earth and sagebrush, crisp with early morning chill. He parked his dusty truck just past the gate, taking a deep breath. Today was the test not just for his photography, but for the fragile trust he'd been granted. Alina was already on the ridge, hands on her hips, watching the sky. She didn't greet him, but she didn't raise the shotgun either. That was progress. "Morning," Colt said, stepping out and lifting his pack. "Quiet," she replied, voice flat but not unkind. "Working on it," he muttered. They walked together up the hill, a careful rhythm forming between them. Colt noticed the way Alina moved over uneven ground, steady and sure, as if the earth itself obeyed her. She was part of the land, and every time he tried to frame the horizon, he realized she was part of the perfect shot he had been chasing all along. He set up the tripod, careful not to crowd her. "I'll show you how I work, step by step. You tell me if I'm overstepping." Alina raised an eyebrow, but didn't interrupt. Colt adjusted the lens, pointing it toward the horizon that had haunted his dreams. "See that ridge over there?" He nodded toward, a curve of hills bathed in gold. "I want the light to fall just right across it. Then I capture the sun as it dips. the moment it kisses the land. That's the magic. You don't just capture it, Alina said quietly. You try to own it. That's why I was angry. Colt nodded, understanding for the first time how blind he had been. I see that now, but owning isn't the same as appreciating. You've given me permission to appreciate. She glanced at him, something soft flickering in her eyes. Don't screw it up. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in molten golds and fiery reds. Colt clicked the shutter, careful, methodical. But this time, Alina didn't stay behind. She moved closer, watching the screen, giving him suggestions. Tilt here, a lower angle there. He realized her presence wasn't interfering. It was improving everything. You're better than I thought, she said, almost grudgingly. Better than expected, Colt teased lightly. Better than expected, she repeated, a small smile tugging at her lips. As the sun kissed the horizon, Colt lowered the camera. He didn't feel the usual rush of triumph. Instead, he felt something heavier. Richer, respect, connection, the kind of understanding that comes from seeing not just a view, but the person who protects it. They sat together in silence, shoulders brushing. The warmth of the sun dipped behind them, leaving the sky streaked with the soft purples and pinks of dusk. For a moment, nothing existed but the land, the light, and the unspoken truce between them. Finally, Alina spoke. I don't usually let anyone see this part of the ranch. Most folks don't deserve it. Colt looked at her, genuine curiosity in his eyes. Why me? She hesitated, her gaze drifting to the horizon. You asked permission. You didn't just take, and you listen. Colt chuckled softly. Not always, but I try. The wind whispered over the hills, carrying the scent of sage and wild grass. Colt realized the perfect shot wasn't just about light or timing. It was about trust, respect, and the people who made the land more than just a backdrop. Elena's eyes met his, holding steady. And in that glance, Colt felt the first true understanding. Some horizons weren't meant to be stolen, they were meant to be shared. One sunset at a time. The peace that had settled between Colt and Alina didn't last long. A week after their sunrise session, Colt returned to the Cruz ranch to find evidence that someone else had been there. Fresh set of tire tracks cutting across the pasture, broken fence posts, and a few stolen cattle tags scattered in the dirt. Felina met him at the gate, her face tight with fury. I told you, no one else gets close to this land, she snapped. Her dark braid whipped around her shoulder in the wind, and the shotgun hung loosely at her side, not cocked, but ready. I didn't do this, Colt said immediately. I swear, someone else has been trespassing. I don't care who did it, Alina said. You brought trouble here. Colt's stomach sank. He hadn't realized how protective she was, not just of the horizon, but of the land and the life it sustained. Her anger wasn't directed at him entirely. It was the fear that someone could take from this place what she had fought to preserve. I came to help, he said softly. Let me fix the fence. Check the livestock. I can do something. Felena's jaw clenched. You think it's that simple? It's a start, Colt said. Better than standing here arguing. After a long pause, Alina finally nodded, signaling a reluctant truce. They worked together through the heat of the late morning, hammering posts, mending wire, checking the grazing cattle. Colt noticed the small ways she moved, efficient, decisive, knowing every contour of the land like the back of her hand. She was fire and earth rolled into one, untamed and unwavering. By midday, the sun blazed overhead, turning the horizon into a hazy ribbon of gold and crimson. Colt wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at her. She was quiet now, focused on a stubborn section of fence, but he could feel the storm that had been in her eyes slowly easing. I shouldn't have let you see me like that, Alina admitted, brushing dust off her sleeves. I get protective, and reckless outsiders make me defensive. You don't have to explain, Colt said. I understand. Her eyes flicked to his, a shadow of a smile breaking through. You do. I do, he said. And I also know that this land isn't just scenery, it's life. And I'd never steal that from anyone. Not now, not ever. She studied him for a long moment, then shook her head, half in disbelief, half in admiration. You're stubborn, she said softly. Maybe too stubborn for your own good. He grinned. Maybe, but sometimes stubbornness helps. As the sun dipped low in the late afternoon sky, casting long shadows over the hills, Colt raised his camera once more. He framed the horizon carefully, mindful of her presence and her land. Wait, she said, stepping closer. Let me see how you do it. They moved side by side, her suggestions guiding him. Just this tilt that end. When the shutter clicked, Colt realized the shot wasn't just perfect because of the light, was perfect because it was shared. Because trust had replaced trespass, and respect had replaced obsession. When they finally stepped back, the sun had kissed the ridge goodbye. The horizon glowed faintly, a promise left behind in twilight hues. Colt felt something he hadn't felt in years, not just satisfaction, but belonging. Felina studied the last light, the way it fell over her land, then looked at him. Maybe you don't belong anywhere, she said, but I suppose you can belong here. Colt smiled softly. He didn't need words. The horizon was theirs, shared in a fragile truce, strengthened by fire, trust, and hard work. The sky darkened, stars beginning to peek out. And somewhere, beyond the rolling hills, storms could be brewing, but tonight, Colt and Elena had carved out a piece of peace together. The morning sun stretched across the horizon in streaks of gold and rose, painting the hills in a light that felt almost sacred. Colt arrived early, heart racing not from the climb, but from the anticipation of seeing Elena. She was already there, standing at the edge of the pasture, surveying the land like a sentinel. When she spotted him, she gave a small nod, a silent invitation to join her. Colt took it, feeling the familiar weight of respect and tension between them. Today was different. Today, the lines between photographer and landowner, outsider and protector, had blurred. He wasn't here to capture a sunset alone. He was here to capture a moment that belonged to both of them. As Colt set up the tripod, Elena leaned against a fence post, arms crossed, watching him with an expression that mixed curiosity and amusement. You know, she said, most people would have given up by now. I don't give up, he replied, smiling. Especially not when the prize is worth it. Prize, she teased. The horizon, he said softly, eyes flicking to the edge of the sky, and maybe the company along the way. Elena raised an eyebrow, but didn't answer immediately. Instead, she watched him work, offering small corrections, a tilt here, a lower angle there. She was no longer guarding the land, from him she was guiding him, shaping the shot with the precision of someone who truly understood the value of what was at stake. The sun began its slow descent, spilling fire across the hills. Colt clicked the shutter repeatedly, capturing every nuance of light and shadow. But this time, he didn't feel the usual rush of triumph. He felt something far deeper, a connection, not just to the horizon, but to the woman who protected it. Elena stepped closer, standing beside him, their shoulders brushing. Colt lowered the camera, his eyes meeting hers. For a moment, words weren't needed. The land, the light, the silence between them spoke volumes. You've changed, she said quietly. Not just in how you take pictures, but in how you see things. I had a good teacher, Colt replied, and a smile tugged at her lips, despite herself. They stood together as the sun touched the horizon, painting the sky in molten shades of orange, pink, and violet. In that perfect moment, Colt realized that some horizons weren't meant to be stolen. They were meant to be shared, cherished, and protected. Elena finally turned to him, her eyes soft, her sternness melted away by the light and the quiet bond they had forged. Maybe you do belong somewhere, she admitted. Maybe, Colt said. Somewhere right here. The last rays of sunlight kissed the hills goodbye, leaving the sky ablaze for just a few fleeting moments before darkness settled. Colt raised his camera one final time, capturing not just the horizon, but the truth of what he had found to love, forged in respect, trust, and the shared beauty of the land. As they packed up, Alina nudged him lightly with her elbow. "Don't think this makes you the boss of the horizon," she said teasingly. "Wouldn't dream of it," Colt replied, grinning. The two of them walked down the hill together, the sun fully gone, but leaving behind a warmth that neither camera nor lens could ever capture. It was a horizon of the heart, endless and unclaimed, yet perfectly theirs. And as the stars began to appear over the wide-open west, Colt whispered, "Some horizons are worth waiting for, and worth fighting for." Alina smiled, a genuine radiant smile, as they disappeared into the soft glow of twilight. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.